Assalamualaikum. My name is Siti Noraisha binti Abdul Aziz. We will present the topic about JSI Shipping Pte Ltd Singapore. Next slide. Okay, this slide will explain about introduction, the fraud, commit fraud, the impact and the penalty, and the conclusion. And move to the next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. Fraud and falsehood unread examination, truth invite it, say of Samuel Johnson. And for the next slide, we'll move into the introduction. Next slide. Okay, first, what is accounting fraud? Accounting fraud is the unauthorized adjustment of the financial statement of a business in order to exploit the apparent health of a company or to hide gains or loss. And accounting fraud also can be done by overstatement of revenue, failure to record expenditure, and misstatement of asset and liabilities. And for the example, one of the most famous cases of accounting fraud in the history is the Enron scandal. It was an American energy company did accounting fraud with the help of auditing firm Arthur Andersen, a big five of accounting firm at that time. With the help of Arthur Andersen firm, Enron had a huge amount of debt from the financial statement. It led to the bankruptcy of Enron and the dissolution of the Arthur Andersen firm. And for the cook the book term, which is using account to make the financial result of a company look better than they are. Usually making book mean changing accounting required to increase the company income, deflate costs, and generate high earnings. Companies can use credit purchases to increase their income, while some can buy stock to hide a decrease in earnings per share EPS. And the example for cooking the book, which is I said before, credit sales and increased profit and stock buyback. And for the next slide.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. I'm Jamila and will explain for the question 2, which A, how the fraud was perpetrated, and concern, which is who, what, when, and where. Next slide. Okay, Rins, as a Asia director, had overall power and responsibility for the day-to-day activities of the JSI Shipping in Singapore and reporting on all operational and business problems to Cullen. Cullen was also the only person in Singapore who agreed on risk, remuneration, and job terms and was privy to them. Bruce Peter Hora, a committed accountant and then Chief Financial Officer of JSIC, assisted Cullen on financial problems, including those of the JSI Shipping. Hora was ordered by Cullen to practically track the monthly management account of JSI Shipping and report to Colin if anything was wrong with the account. The accounting manager of JSI Shipping, Sandy Wah, prepared the monthly management report detailing the expenses of JSI Shipping. An auditor who audit JSI Shipping, back ke slide satu lagi. An auditor who audit, yang back lagi. Okay, stop Sat. An auditor who audit JSI Shipping is from an established company of a certified public accountant in Singapore that offers services such as statutory auditing, special auditing, accounting, tax and corporate advisory service. He or she also was a member of the same group, Nizia, as the auditor of JSISC in California at the relevant time. Next slide. Okay, before we go further for the fraud that doing by the director of JST, I will explain first what the term auditor need in engagement. In the case, the dividend which is auditor carry out 3 formal audit of the applicant, which is JSI Shipping account in relation to the 1999, 2000 and 2001 financial year, which means 3 years. The 3 audit have all been unqualified. In a letter of appointment dated 26 March 1990 and a letter of consent dated 8 July 1999, both given as follows, which is the material term of engagement is summarized. The audit will show before forming an opinion on the account. Audit can carry out sufficient tests to obtain fair assurance as to whether the information contained in the accounting report and other resource data inaccurate and sufficient to form the basis for the preparation of and next is if the account do not comply with the accounting standard statement issued by the Institute of Certified Public Accountant of Singapore, the auditor will report a major deviation, which the auditor shall report all such problem and any material defect in the accounting and internal control system that come to the notice of the auditor, and also which he or she feels should be brought to the attention of the client. The auditor also will seek written clarification from the directors about the audit representation that which is submitted to auditor. And auditor also is entitled to access financial and other documents including the company register. And auditor also has access to details and explanation needed for the purpose of the audit. Next slide. Okay. And this is malfeasance offering, which is at that time, Colin received an anonymous letter in or around May 2002, which is the letter also told Colin that without Colin knowledge or authority, Rins has been using company fund for his own personal expenses. And Laili, which is employee of the JSI Singapore, also later certified that she had found some suspicious transaction involving RINs around January 2002 and had launched a discreet investigation. Given that RINs was the most senior person in Singapore, she took a few months to gather strong evidence and chose to act secretly as she feared for her job security. And also subsequently, Chula made 2 Singapore trips. He was certified after his second trip that Rins had misissued fund belonging to appellant, and he had Rins confronted. Eventually, this resulted in the resignation of Rins on 2 21 June 2002 in a note dated 28 June 2002. Risk later admitted to the misappropriate. Next slide. This is I will proceed for pass to my member Shikin.
Assalamualaikum, and my name is Siti Nasha Samsu Anwar. I will continue the 2A, the proceeding. At first point, JSI Shipping agreed that all of the loss were caused by breach of its contractual obligation and duty of care by the defender as auditor in relation to the three audits performed for the 1999 and 2000 and 2001 5 reach right to the amount of compensation and benefit attributed to him as director remuneration was in considerable question. The defender failed to obtain sufficient audit evidence to eliminate such doubt. The defender audit in 1999, 2000 and 2001 were not scheduled and carried out with the accurate attitude of professional skepticism. The defender as auditor failed to include a qualified audit opinion or disclaimer which would have to record or illustrate the limited scope of its audit and the presence of any factor which would have prevented it from obtaining adequate audit proof. Next slide. JSI Shipping engaged and linked DFK NLA in early July 2002 to perform a special audit to assess the full scope of the malfeasance of RIG. NLA report in first special audit report date 1 January 2001 to 30 June 2002 that during the relevant period, RIG has misexploited company fund amounting to 1,808 million. This misappropriation include personal expenses paid without board approval as director compensation, unsubstantiated travel expenses, suspicious office construction charge, payment to a REIT control corporation, and the illegal issue of multiple cash check for fake transaction. A second special audit report was commissioned date from September 1998 to December 2000. In shower, that during the defined period, there were an overpayment of salary for rate amounting to $80,000. He has earning non-approved amount of money for allowance and other benefit amounting to about $174,000. The report also reported, however, during the trial, this estimate were changed several times as a new record conflicting with some of the original findings. Next slide. JSI JSI Shipping engaged and Lee and Associate DFK NL in early July 2002 to perform as special audit to assess the full scope of the malfeasance of rate. And a report in its first special audit report date 1 January 2001 to 30 June 2002 that during the relevant period has misexploited company fund amounting to 1,808 million. This operation include personnel expenses paid without board approved as director compensation up substantive travel expenses, sufficient official construction chain, paid payment to corporation and the illegal issue of multi-cash check for paid taxation. A second special audit report was commissioned date from September 1998 to December 2000. It showed that during the defined period there was an overpayment of salary for Raj amounting to $80,000. He has earning not approved amount of money for allowance and other benefit amounting to about $174,000. The report also reported, however, during the trial, this estimate were changed several times as new records were completed with some of the original findings. A management letter or internal control report was not released by the defendant to warrant the claim that there was of better off. First, it divided the cost of invoice in excess of $12,000 in order to circumvent the single signature cap or check. Second is the sign of black check. Third is having large prepaid account consisting of transactions that do not have supporting documentation. Thus, breaching in content and responsibility to bond to the attention of the JSI Shipping material defenses in the accounting and internal control system that has come to its notice. Next slide. Who is the whistleblower? The whistleblower is one of the employees who found that fraud case, but the employee only informed to the director, who is that is James Charlie. After that, Charlie as director JSI Shipping sued the auditor for the negligence and failed to submit the fraud committee by the Singapore-based director. Next slide.
Assalamualaikum. First of all, my name is Muhammad Awfazik. Today, I would like to present to you about the pressure, opportunities, and rationalization. Basically, this is what we call the fraud triangle. The fraud triangle have three divided into three, which is the first one incentive, and then the second one opportunities, the third one rationalization. Okay, first of all, the incentive. Incentive is basically why REITs doing the fraud. Okay, actually, REITs doing the fraud because of the because of self-interest. Riggs engaged in this fraud because he can take the company profit without being caught by their company auditor, which is Nexia. Okay, let me tell you, Nexia is the company auditor that audits the JSI Shipping company based in Singapore and California. John Pickricks has been special audited to know know even deeper about fraud that Rick makes. Result shows that Rick has been take company funds up to 1,808,000 during the relevant period. Okay, and then we move to the opportunities. Okay, the opportunities that Rick make fraud is the negligence of the company auditor, which is the Nexia. Okay, I explained before, Nexia is the auditor of the JSI Shipping company, which is in both country, Singapore and California. Then uh, the company auditor, which is Nexia, failed to verify the Singapore based entitlement to remuneration. Then the auditor also fails to report the abuse by the Singapore-based director of his check signing limit, and also failed to properly verify warehouse renovation expenses. And lastly, which is the rationalization, I can assume that John Pickricks may not have other option or other solution, that he may need the money so bad, because of we know that Riggs has run away from the country, and there is no money to be compensated from him. Okay. Next, I will pass to the impact and the penalty.
Okay, now we move to the impact and the penalty for the auditors, the company, management, the shareholders, and any relevant parties. And next slide. Okay, first, the impact for the person that involved with accounting fraud. First person, which is auditor. If an auditor or an auditing firm is involved in accounting fraud, let's say that they are initial misleading the investor and government, that will decrease the transparency of the financial market. For you mentioned the decrease the transparency, which is mean the report that have been done, we cannot be trust at all. And next is the company. And what happened if the company also involved with the accounting fraud? Mostly failures are the main consequence of the company accounting fraud, which is either lost the business empire or value of the investment of the investor. Even the big firm like Enron also faced the bankruptcy. And for the management, mainly due to weak and inefficient company management, that will be happen accounting fraud. And when any financial fraud is detected later, that will take the management to the criminal procedure. And for the shareholder, if a shareholder fraud happen, it may lead to either apply the criminal law to the shareholders involved in the fraud, or termination and settlement of the company according to the nature of the fraud. And for the other parties, are also known as external parties. External parties also can do accounting fraud, often with the help of employees of the firm for gaining their personal need. For example, for gaining debt finance from any institution, can hide his previous debt and approve a misstatement of his income, which with the help of an employee of the institution. It may lead to the termination of the employment of the employee, and also both the external parties and employee would face legal action. And for the next slide, we're talking about the penalty. The penalty for person that doing the accounting fraud. For the auditor, if an auditor fail to find out an accounting fraud, or maybe it have initial to do it, so it may lead to imprisonment of the auditor or dissolution of the auditor firm. And for the company, all of the director of the company will face legal action for the fraud, and also may get a fine for the act. And Security Exchange Commission may also remove the company from the stock exchange and issue an order for settlement of the investor. And for the management, if they're doing the accounting fraud, it will be lead to the termination of the employment and also may get imprisonment and fee punishment to set off the loss of the company. And for the shareholders, they will get banned in the stock exchange and should face legal action against both the shareholders and the management. And for the other parties, which is external parties, they both will get both legal and financial action from the company and authorities. For example, an employee and outsider parties did accounting fraud. The employee will be terminated and may get imprisonment and fee penalty, and the outsider parties may get imprisonment or fee penalty or both. And we move to the next slide. Thank you.
Okay, for the conclusion, my name is Muhammad Noor Azwan. So I will overview and summarize what is this report about. So I will explain. The JSI Shipping was the Singapore subsidiary of an American freight forwarding company and had two directors. One was based in Singapore, while the other in the United States, and was head of JSI Ultimate Holding Company. The Singapore-based director was engaged in a scheme from to siphon off JSI Shipping's profit for his own benefits, and this was allegedly not picked up by the auditors in the audits carried out for final year 1999 to 2001, but by one of the staff who report to the US-based director. So, JSI Shipping sued the auditor for negligence in failing to pick up the Singapore-based director fraud in three main areas. For the first one is failure to verify the Singapore-based director entitlement to remuneration, and the second one is failure to report abuse by Singapore-based director of his check signing limit. The last one is failure to properly verify warehouse renovation expenses. So the court found that the auditor were negligent in not verifying the amount that it was entitled to. They failed to seek alternative evidence when Wicks told that he had no writing employment contract. Furthermore, the contract found the fact that the defendants has asked the other director, who was based overseas, asked to sign off on the director's report and draft account, did not absolve the auditor from liability as they had not made it too clear to the overseas director the importance of him verifying the correctness of what he had signed. On the fact, the court therefore found that the auditor were liable for the loss. On the facts, the court therefore found that the auditor were liable for the loss. Okay, that's all from me. That's all from us, group number 7 for JSI Shipping case. Thank you.